there's a tremendous website, a lot of resources, and there's an agenda page where you can look up the agenda. And I'm now referring to the Thursday, February 12th agenda. Just want to make you aware of this. You can get all the agendas on the City Council website. I printed this right off the website, so I have a paper copy. And I'm going to talk very briefly about some of the subsidized housing projects come up. Because I know there are some people here from River Place and from other areas of District 6 that have expressed concern about that. And it's on the agenda right now. This is a draft agenda, but it's on the agenda right now, items number 9 and 10. Well, items 9 and 10 regard the airport, which we're going to be looking at. But agenda item 25, 26, and 28, if you want to take notes and look that up. These are the District 6 subsidized housing projects that we've been asked to vote on February 12th, to let you know. And one of them, of course, is the Cardinal Point project near the Four Points area that there's been a lot of interest in. And the amount is $1.8 million that's been requested there. Just to let you know, February 12th. And I don't anticipate that date changing because the deadline for turning in the applications to the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs is actually February 27th. So I don't think there's time for that to be postponed. So I expect that to come up. So that's what I wanted to talk about on the subsidized housing projects. On the right-of-way acquisition, there's been a lot of discussion about the parking lot that we have here at Ranch Road 620. And we kind of hoped that the planning of decades ago would have included an outer loop. Most of our Texas cities, of course, built in loops. They had inner loops, and they've got outer loops, and some of them are now building a third, yet another loop around it. We still don't have our first loop established yet. And it could have been done on Ranch Road 620, but right now we've got a terrible traffic problem. We have a flyer here. There's going to be a lunch coming up at the Steiner Ranch Steakhouse. It's second Wednesdays at February 11th. So February 11th, we're going to have a noon luncheon, and we're going to have TxDOT project manager Bruce Byron. And Bruce Byron is very, very knowledgeable, very experienced, not just in the technical aspects of road projects, but also the political management and how you manage the money and try to get community buy-in and resolve all the different disputes with constituents. Because everybody probably wants something a little different. So Bruce Byron, Steiner Ranch Steakhouse, February 11th. We get there about 11:30 and we break up at 1 o'clock and he'll be the speaker there. So we hope you can come. He's going to talk about the Ranch Road 620 corridor study that TxDOT has been engaged in for some time. All right, now let me jump ahead to the Austin Animal Shelter and tell you a true story about what happened. I think it was maybe the second day that I got on my email. A constituent wrote into me and said, "We don't have enough volunteers to walk dogs at the Austin Animal Shelter." So I thought, well, this looks like one Jennifer can handle. So I forwarded that off to Jenny, and I think the individual was rather shocked because within a matter of hours, she was pretty much on her way to walk the dogs in a matter of hours. So she did go down, and she walked several dogs, but there was a mishap that took place, and one of the dogs that she actually did not walk, because it looked a little bit like a pit bull, and it was real excited. It was jumping around and barking. It looked like it was very badly behaved. I don't want to walk that one. That particular dog got into an accident and got its rear leg caught in a piece of metal and just got its leg terribly torn up in the metal and required a bunch of stitches and some medical treatment. And because of that mishap, Jennifer felt kind of sorry for the dog because she passed it up. Now it's injured. So that dog has been at our house for the last week. And that's Shelby. So the reason Shelby has this little cone around its head is so that it won't go after those stitches and lick the wound and interfere with the healing. So that's the story about Shelby. Shelby is here now. Yes, he is up for adoption. That one needs 3 readings. It's up for adoption. It's up for adoption. I'd love to get our house back. Jennifer does a great job. By the way, we are working on having a real baby, so we can put all that love and care on a real child. So we're still working on that. All right, so I'd like to open this up, if I could, for any questions. And at the very end, of course, could you maybe bring up Shelby when we're done? There you go. Are there any questions I can take? from our District 6 residents about the committees or about anything on the agenda? Yes?
Scott, I'd just love to hear maybe some comments about utility rates in District 6 with respect to families and houses. I just noticed that a family of 4 will spend about 3 times an incremental gallon of water compared to someone living in the city in an apartment. Doesn't seem fair, doesn't seem right. And that's consistent with the electricity as well, those kind of comparisons. So I'd love your thoughts on that as a way to address it.
Well, let me try to take those both. It's a question about utilities. So I think our 2 biggest bills are our water bill, right, and our electric bill. But let me tackle the electricity first, because what's different about District 6 is we have quite a bit of our area that's covered by the Pedernales Electric Co-op, which is, of course, a very, very different animal from Austin Energy. And the rate structures look different, the base charges are different. It's really an apples and oranges comparison. And I have asked the mayor to not focus my attention on Austin Energy, particularly because I'm in Pedernales and most of District 6 is Pedernales, so there's a reason behind that. As far as the water goes, I think the short answer on that, based on the information I have now, is we have very, very high infrastructure costs. And part of it was water treatment plant 4. I think a lot of the controversy behind that was that, not necessarily that it wasn't needed, but it may have been over-designed and overbuilt. It was very, very, very expensive. Probably too expensive. And so people have complained that as they have cut back on their water usage, their bills haven't gone down. And of course, the reason for that is the city utility has got to pay for the debt on that infrastructure. And I believe the debt portion of your Austin water bill that's because of infrastructure is very, very high. So if you go out to Round Rock or some other communities, they don't have that very high infrastructure cost they're trying to pay off. So it's not easy to fix that because the bonds have been issued, the debt is out there, and now those bills have to be paid. So I have asked to be put on public utilities in terms of water, because obviously Water Treatment Plant 6 is in District 4 on Lake Travis, and we border Lake Travis. So I'm hoping to get on that and to dig into that and work on it. So thank you for that question.
Just a quick follow-up. I appreciate the source of the need for the funds. My comment was more on the rate structure itself and the inherent fairness of someone living in the city, single person paying a third for a gallon of water, an incremental gallon of water relative to someone in the suburbs. You're now our voice from the suburbs, Don. It's a big issue for us. I want to hear you go after it.
All right, well, it gets better than that because you said fairness. I think what you meant was unfairness. Because what's happened is we've had a number of municipal utility districts, the Anderson Mill mud sometime back, and then the River Place mud, which is still under annexation. And our phones were lit up in the campaign because I think around the October timeframe, these water bills started to show up. And we took call after call after call of people saying that their $150 water bill from the River Place mud was now $400. It was pretty shocking, and we kept fielding these calls. And there was some other controversy about. I guess there was a management company that sent data to the Austin Water Utility, and so the bills going forward and the predictive usage and the design of water service was based on prior usage. But then some of the neighbors were complaining to me that the data that was being used by the Austin Water Utility did not match the bills that they had saved from the prior year. And that's really problematic because now you don't know, are they getting the correct data? Do they have the wrong data? Are they putting in some other algorithms to jack it up? So I think your question is there's an unfairness issue because we have people buying wholesale water and getting water delivery from a mud, and they have reasonable water bills, right? They get annexed by the city, and now their water bills have doubled or tripled or even more. So I don't have an answer to solve that right now, but I'm all over it, okay? So I appreciate the question. Got another question? Anything I put down here? Is there anybody that would bring up the Cardinal Point project? Because we've gotten a lot of calls on that. No. Wow. This is going to be easy. Maybe you're waiting to get me private to tell me what you really think. Maybe that's what's going on. Well, with that, if there's no more... Sorry, there's no...
I mean to monopolize, but that is an issue. And not so much Cardinal Point, but the concept of traffic issues in that 4 Points area. And as I've looked at the zoning, if we actually build out to that zone, it will be 620 and 2220, those two roads will be two giant parking lots, period, full stop. So I just love you to look into the zoning that we've got there. Cardinal Point is just one example of a higher density complex going in there. There are others, I'm sure more will come. And without having a real transportation plan there, we're looking for almost like that Steiner Ranch redo again, where people take 45 minutes to get from their home just to get down to 360. So appreciate you looking into that.
Well, again, I appreciate you bringing it up again. No problem monopolizing, because I do drive that 620 and 22 corner every morning. I'm part of the parking lot. And in Canyon Creek, we have some people here from Canyon Creek, we've had situations where we drive up to the light, Boulder at 620, the light turns green and no one moves. So there's no debate that something's got to be done. I've asked the mayor, I've asked publicly to be put on Campo. And it's my hope that I can get appointed to that Campo committee. You know, I am a mechanical engineer, I have a lot of analytical skills, and I'd love to apply those skills to these traffic problems. But we have to see how the committees play out. I'd love to get a chance to work on that specifically, because you're right. But let me make one additional comment, though. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's a difference between being required to subsidize a high-density housing project versus a market housing project, where people are not increasing your taxes to put in the building. I think it's a kind of a double whammy to say, look, I want my tax money to get rid of congestion problems. We need to widen the roads and improve the traffic situation. And then this constituent says, well, not only are you not fixing my roads, but you're applying my tax money to more high-density housing that's going to exacerbate the problem. So I'm mindful of that too. So I appreciate that. Yes?
Yeah, there just has to be an end to this, because I mean, we've got so many apartments going in that location. I got 144 homes, I think, going in there with reserve, and I think there's 344 apartments right across the road on 4 Point Drive. And then there's another 300 apartments going in. It's going to open up in Steiner Ranch, so it just goes on and on and on. There's got to be some kind of control over this.
Boy, you're absolutely right, and thank you, Don, for bringing it up. Actually, Don Lampton was the flight instructor that gave me a flight review sometime back, another pilot. So, hey, by the way, thank you for passing me on my flight review. I appreciate it.
You're an excellent pilot.
Well, thank you. Another endorsement. I haven't paid anything yet. That's terrific. Any other? Yeah, another group.
Yeah, as long as we're talking about like high-density housing, every time we put in new housing developments, we also have to accommodate schools for those kids. And our schools in the southern end of the district, our elementary schools, are pretty much built out in there. And looking for areas of flat land to put additional, school facilities in becomes an issue that should be. Anytime you're planning, you've got to take the kids who are going to be coming in into consideration also. And one last thing on the transportation, we have Vandergrift High School and 4 Points back in that area that has a single road in. And just for safety considerations, we're trying to get a second road in. So when you're looking at the transportation solutions for that corridor, trying to find a second way for those kids to get out in the event of any kind of an emergency is always an issue also.
Well, I appreciate you bringing that up, because that's been brought up too a lot. And that Vandergrift High School, of course, borders on the BCCP. And I made a point in one of the forums of saying, the BCCP is actually owned by you. You own the BCCP. And I made this comment only halfway joking that I really like the Blind Cave Spider and Barton Creek Salamander, but my view on that is when they buy property and start paying property taxes, then they deserve protection. I'm serious. Okay, so to repeat the question is there's a road that goes in and serves Vandergrift High School, and it's a dead end. There's also a fire station in the same vicinity. That road goes in and is a dead end. And I think Bob Nix is here, could speak to that, but so they were making fun of people saying, why would you put these big important things in a dead end? And the answer is, it was not a dead end in the original plan. Those roads were supposed to be connected. And it's my understanding that the BCCP has easements built into the plan, And there are easements that we could take advantage of to get some road congestion relief. So yes, I'm working on that too. And the key to that, I think, is getting the easements recognized, get the engineers, civil engineers, and environmentalists together, and we can find a solution. One more comment on the environmental question. I had some very influential and powerful Save Our Streams people in my office. And I started them out by asking, I love environmentalists, but no one's been able to answer this question for me yet. How did the dinosaurs disappear years before the Republican Party was founded? Yeah, it's good. They laugh too, but I don't get an answer. The environmental issues and problems are much, much deeper and more serious. The environment is more complex and it's more powerful, than what we can do as humans. I've studied some of this, and if you look at the power of our sun and what a solar flare or these solar bursts can happen, it's like a nuclear bomb going off millions of miles away. But the sun, it's not carbon dioxide that warms the earth. It's the sun that warms the earth. And you don't have to be as smart as a fifth grader to figure that out. So I do have some differences, but again, there's always common ground to reach. I think we can get a solution. Yes?
John Harris from River Place.
River Place, terrific.
In regards to the Cardinal Point, I understand you guys are going to have a discussion about the $1.8 million donated from the city to that project. I'll unfortunately be out of town, so since the mayor's here anyway, I'll go ahead and voice my concern here if that's okay. All right, so the main concern we've got is the existing 9 communities that have been developed by foundation communities have an average of very serious crime. We're talking murder, rape, stealing cars, burglarizing homes of 564 in the zip codes that those 9 existing projects are in. River Place, our zip code, during the same time period had 16 of those same kind of crimes. So since we have a heavy concentration of families with young children, those are very alarming numbers. Now, we're not necessarily saying all those crimes are being committed by people in those developments, but that's a very alarming statistic. Furthermore, the head of Foundation Communities, who makes $162,000 a year and lives over in Westlake, which there's no of his own developments within 5 miles of his own home, is choosing to put this development over in our backyard, 30 seconds drive from the front of our community. I just find it very interesting that, as caring as he is, he doesn't want it in his own backyard. There is land available, I've already found it for him. It's actually less expensive than the one he's trying to buy right now. So, I would like to see our tax dollars put to better use than bringing high crime to a very low crime neighborhood. It's going to spook a lot of the people that came to this neighborhood to work in those local stores like H-E-B and Subway, and they're living in those apartments there, and they're more scared than we are. So I'm really trying to figure out who is this thing being built for. It's certainly not for who they're claiming it's being built for.
Yeah, thanks, John. Yeah, Mr. Harrison. If you could give me those statistics and the sources, I think you may have sent me an email already, but the sources for those, I'd love to have those, okay? Yeah, thank you. A couple more questions. We're about to run out of time. Let me say before we quit, our goal right now is to have at least one town hall meeting every month, and right now we have it tentatively set for the last Saturday of every month. And the next one we want to have, courtesy of the firefighters, we want to use Fire Station 38 on Anderson Mill Road. So we hope to have another one of these forums and have them on the last Saturday of every month, just FYI. Okay, another question? Wait, one more? Yes?
I have Dairy Queens and Wally's Burger Express here in Austin, and we've become concerned, myself and other restaurateurs and small businesses, it just seems like there's all kinds of burdensome regulations that the city's come up with. In fact, amongst ourselves, we say that the city doesn't care what you do as long as it's mandatory. Specifically concerned about the new proposed recycling and composting ordinances. Those are not fully implemented yet, but we're very worried about it. It seems like we never did get to really have a voice in when it was happening. And every time we were at meetings, the only people that were there were composting companies that hoped to get started if the ordinance was passed. So we'd like to ask you about that and see if we can't maybe have an input on that.
Okay, Mr. Mayfield, that's great. And I think it's completely fair that when our committees are named, and this is part of our new way forward, when we get these committees named and we have an opportunity to get into more detail on what the cost of these regulations and ordinances are, we would like to open up some of these issues for more debate and discussion. So you send me that email, I will make sure that I get something in so that we can consider the cost of the waste ordinance as well. But there are many, many, many ordinances that have unintended consequences of driving costs up for business and home. There's numerous ordinances that need to be reviewed. One of the ones I've been visiting with home builders, and they're complaining about the tree ordinance. Now, I don't think people realize what a tremendous impact, right, the tree ordinance is having on land use and how it's driving up the cost of development. Again, there are unintended consequences, but they are real, and there's a lot of things contributing to unaffordability that we need to review. And the way to do that will be to get our committees named and then put resolutions in to study and even to recognize or even to have a chance to repeal those. You know, you say, I want this repealed, I want it modified, let's bring it up for debate and deliberation. So that's going to happen. Let's do one more, and then we'll bring up Shelby. Do we have one more question? You have a question over here?
Anything happening from Spicewood Parkway to 183 for a turn lane?
Spicewood
Turn
Parkway?
lane. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, it's Spicewood Parkway.
Are you talking about, I know where Spicewood Parkway is, it's Anderson Mill.
Going to 183. It's only, there's no turn lane.
There's no what?
Turn lane. There's a middle lane. There's no middle lane.
Okay, well, yeah, there's
It's the middle.
the middle lane. I think, yeah. But I think another thing I'm hearing more than anything else is the problem with Anderson Mill Road. Because Anderson Mill Road has been expanded between Spicewood Parkway
Right.
and 620.
Right.
But it has not been expanded between Spicewood Parkway. Yeah, I see what you're saying. That's where our office was, right? Where the Shipley's Donuts is.
That's right.
Once you get down there, there's no middle turning lane, and when somebody turns left, the traffic backs up. It can back up all the way to
There's
620.
been a couple accidents there, but I'm afraid what's going to happen one day, it's going to be a death on that road.
Well, there's an elementary school there as well, Spicewood Elementary, yeah, it's right on the
Now
corner.
they're building, what do you call it?
It's an assisted living, yeah, for Alzheimer's Center.
How can I do this?
Yeah, it's going to be more than 10 We're all excused for forgetting about the Alzheimer's Center. We're all excused. But by the way, that is our top transportation project. I talked to Commissioner Doherty about that one as a priority. But I believe that cuts into Williamson County as well. That's why we talked to Cynthia Long, the commissioner there, and she's also in agreement that should be an immediate priority. And by that I mean within 2015, 2016 to try to get that project engineered and started. And just to make it look like the other half of Anderson Mill.
And you have a fire station there too.
Yeah, you're right. Fire station. When the traffic backs up, if your house catches on fire, just prepare for more of it to get burned because they're not going to get there in time. Well, okay, with that, let me ask, is that David Gray?
Yes.
Yeah, David Gray was one of our volunteers. Office help.
The 88 corridor, these are for the elderly who can't drive anymore. Now they extend right up to almost into District 6. But they don't go like Canyon Creek or throughout our district. And there's the reason why not. The Buffalo Metro shouldn't do that, I think.
Oh, okay. So the question about the ADA access from Cap Metro into more of the District 6 areas, I can tell you the simple answer is cost. You know, Cap Metro's got some very serious financial challenges. It's not that they don't want to go out and serve more people, is they've got some budget issues, serious budget issues. But we'll talk about that more, David, because you know where to find me. Jennifer, could you come up with Shelby and then after this we'll be done. I think we wanted this to be 30 minutes and we're kind of close to that. I've got 2:30, so we're about an hour total. So let's welcome Shelby here now. That is a smart dog. He knows where the influence is.
So this is Shelby. She's about 2 years old. I met her in the shelter. I was afraid of her in the beginning, so I didn't actually walk her. And but then my heart went out to her. I'm not a dog person. I'm a cat person. This is. I was scared to death. As soon as I got her in the truck, I told Dawn I was going to go pick her up. And as soon as I got her in the truck, I felt like being sick. I just thought, what am I doing? We brought her home. She has been so good. She knows her place. I have a little blanket for her and bed, and she just sits right down, and just the sweetest dog. Never met a stranger. Just loves making friends. She met a cat a couple days ago and rolled over on her back to show the cat her belly, and then the cat proceeded to roll over on her back to show Shelby her belly, and so seems to get along well with everybody. So she is looking for a forever home, or we're looking together for a forever home, and she loves to sleep with us. She loves to be with Sorry, I'm revealing too much information.
Please adopt soon.